Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Sarah, and we're the Global Geezers. Today we took the train and the S-Bahn to Dachau, which is northwest of the center of town. And there's a concentration camp here, and it's nearby. We are going to try to find what they call a Path of Remembrance. And it follows the same route that the SS soldiers forced their Jewish
They're prisoners, basically.
prisoners as well as political prisoners. The route is supposed to be about 3 kilometers to the concentration camp, and there's supposed to be placards and other information along the way. So we're going to see if we can find that, and we've got a beautiful sunny day today. Well, part of the day.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd take advantage of it.
So, let's go.
Umstieg zur S2 Richtung Altomünster und Richtung Ingolstadt. Next stop, Dachau.
Coming out of the Dachau station, it looks like our first board is right over here. So it's right next to the bike rack, and there's a bunch of other signs up above, and I'm not seeing anything yet that tells you exactly where to go, but it looks like we have to follow the street maybe. And Dachau is a pretty decent sized town, looks like. So it looks like there's a hotel right here. There's a bus station, major bus station, it looks like right here by the train depot. And there's other bus stops right here along this main little road. So yeah, lots of bikes. There's like tons of bike racks. So it looks like a lot of people might commute into town. Oh, canal.
Yeah. Dachau is a cute little town, that's for sure.
We've made our first wrong turn.
Yay!
And from what we've seen, the signage isn't the greatest. Well,
non-existent is more the word.
yeah, we haven't seen
It's just not there.
any signs for this path.
So you want to cross the street before you go under the tracks, because you're going to take an immediate left and head up the street.
I see the second placard up ahead. So this is obviously the right street now. Yay! Pretty.
The duck house in Dachau.
There's candles in there.
Is there?
Yeah, there's a lit candle.
Oh, here's a...
Yes. All right, so that shows the path that we're taking, and that's generally the direction that we're trying to follow. And we saw a street right across the bridge that went this direction, but the sign on the street didn't show the same street name that was on the map, so it made it a little confusing. So don't look for the street names, because that doesn't seem to be helpful. All right, we found the third placard. It's along this little path. And eventually the street comes up and you see the path. So just in case you miss, like running out of sidewalk, when you see a little path on this left side, you'll know that that's the placard spot. And again, I don't see the street name that is on the map, so.
Okay, we're not going to go down this street. We got to go down a little further, and then we'll head east. Found the next marker.
So this trail used to be a track where they would often use the tracks to carry or haul prisoners to the concentration camp, but they didn't always use the train to transport. They sometimes just marched them on foot the whole way. And so this path used to actually have tracks on it, and now it's been converted.
Used to be the train that went through here. Yeah, it could use some more signs, because I don't know if we're supposed to turn right here, or if we're supposed to go straight more. I don't know. Which way do we go? Straight or that way? Yeah, a marker anywhere would be nice. In true geezer fashion, we went the wrong way. It's so poorly marked. You just take a guess. We should have turned where I showed you earlier.
Well, in the middle of the park.
Yeah, in the middle of the park where there's no signs.
It doesn't really look like you go through the whole park. It looks like you go partly into the park and then make a right turn, because it looks like there's placards up ahead across another street. So yeah, it's kind of difficult if you don't know exactly where you're going. Yep.
When you get over the canal, turn left and follow that angle, and you'll find the other two placards.
We're right here. Okay. Straub der Käse Opfer. Okay. We have streets here. A street here, which is John F. Kennedy Platz, and then a street that goes around that way. And I think, oh, there's the Dachau bus. So I think we have to go that way. But we started going that way to start off with, and there weren't placards, so we had to come back here to find them. Right. So, yeah, I really wish there were, like, I see Camino signs on every tiny little pole. How about give us a Path of Remembrance little signs on every little pole? It would be very helpful. Okay, so from what we can tell at this point anyway, could be wrong, it looks like the placards are right here where we're standing, because this is the main road over here behind Kevin, and then this is kind of the fenced area that we started walking to that we didn't see placards at, and the park is over here. So we walked up here and around and came back. So the other placard is back over here that we just saw before. So if you walk up here and through here, you'll find this placard. So now we're gonna walk back over here, and this whole thing is the SS camp as it was then. It might be military now because it's still fenced off. And then we come to the factories and then the prisoner camp. So we're on the KZ Opfer street that we pointed out to you a little while ago. On the other side here is where the SS camp was located, and they had housing and they did drills and different kinds of things. It looks like some old housing right here that's still remaining.
Barracks. Does that look like a barrack type? And that looks like
yes.
a barrack type?
So a lot of the barracks are probably still here. I don't know if how they're using them nowadays, but there's a big fence that's separating this side from the other side. So that's why I was thinking it might still be military use. So the prisoners would have been marched through this whole section along the SS camp, all the way from the train to, or the train stop to the concentration camp. So definitely not a friendly atmosphere once they got over here.
They do have a bus that goes from the train station to the memorial site. It's bus 726 and it goes every 15-20 minutes or so. But you have to pay for it. I mean, unless you get a MVV ticket for zones 1 through 2, because this is in zone 2, we think. It might be zone 1, but it's kind of like borderline zone 1, it's borderline zone 1, zone 2. Number 7. We have 2 more panels, but it's a pretty walk. It really is a gorgeous walk. Panel 8. SS drill camp. Führer school, wow. Welcome to the Dachau concentration camp memorial site.
Right-wing extremist groups. It doesn't specify this country. It's any right-wing extremist groups.
And these are the foundations. They just discovered this in 2008.
International dafür bekannt, dass hier am Ende vom Zweiten Weltkrieg 30.000 Verhungerte im Verhungern seien die KZ-Häftlinge gefunden wurden unter entsetzlichen Bedingungen. Und diese jungen Leute sind angegangen und fast 30.
So there's some kind of tour group in front of that one, so we kind of had to kind of squeeze in. Maybe college kids or something, but they were completely surrounding it, and it was really difficult to get in there. And there's another couple behind us that are waiting to look at the placard as well, so it made it kind of awkward. I just kind of squeezed in there. It's like other people are trying to enjoy it. I don't know. Scoot the group over to the side and finish talking about it maybe would be reasonable. Anyway, it looks like we've come to the main crossroads visitor center. Yay!
Just come through the gate and here are the grounds. Right, this area is where the roll call was done. Every day they had roll call in the morning at night for all the prisoners, and this is where they stood maybe for an hour in all conditions. This is what they call the Jurhaus. It's a gatehouse and office building of the SS that was built in 1936. Newly arriving prisoners were forced to pass through the gate with the inscription, "Work brings freedom." This section here tells you how Nazism came into existence. Alright, when the political prisoners got here, this is the room they had to hand over their clothing and everything else they had taken with them. They left this room naked and were taken to prisoner baths. No prisoner could know if he could ever leave the concentration camp again.
So they purposely cleaned and maintained these areas not for the prisoners, but just for when they were going to have visitors coming to inspect and see what was happening here. So this is 3839, and you can see that the area where it shows Germany actually exists is now where part of Poland is. So that's why there was this divide several different places, several different times throughout history, where it used to be Germany and then it switched to Poland and then back. This room was the former prisoner baths. They showered or bathed in here.
A little fact that Dachau was the first concentration camp and the only camp to have existed throughout the entire 12 years of Nazi rule. In the early years, it was used for political prisoners, but then when the war spread, then they brought in the Jews here.
So the prisoners developed a library here, and it was their one thing that they kind of had control of, which was nice. And everyone can use it except Jewish inmates and those in isolation. So, yeah.
This is the food storage room. This is where they stored all the food for the prisoners. The kitchens are that way. Yeah, they call it the maintenance building because this is where they maintain the prisoners. Baths, processing, sickness, food, etc. This is a monument outside the maintenance area. There's exhibits throughout the whole maintenance building, but we got about halfway through it and it was just, yeah, you get the idea. You saw it earlier. So we're gonna come out and take a look at some other things. There are tour groups. You can get a tour through here. Also, they have audio guides. So I don't know if you have to rent the audio guide or if it's free. But yeah, you can do an audio guide. We like to do it the Global Geezer way. If you don't want to do an audio guide, there's plenty of signs that tell you what's going on and what was there at that time. This memorial here is for the ashes of the unknown concentration camp prisoner. If you can't read it because the sun is in the wrong spot, it says never again in different languages. The field from a different area. I can see that we're not too far from Munich Airport. I see planes coming in.
So between these two lines of trees over here, that was kind of like the main road. and there were long buildings on either side. So they've kept these first couple of buildings on either side, but then after that it looks like they've been torn down. So maybe these are reconstructed, maybe parts of them are original, I don't know. But it looks like they have some things inside that they've set up to maybe resemble the barracks. So we're gonna head over there and see what they have.
Seems like all the prisoners here were men. I haven't seen any pictures of women. You can see rows and rows of where the barracks were. That has a number 1. This sign says that the blocks 1, 3, and 5, this is where they conducted cruel medical experiments on the prisoners. Jeez. It's like you read about these things, you hear about these things, but until you actually come to one of these concentration camps and see it, it's just, it's heartbreaking. It really is heartbreaking. Six million Jews were killed here? No. Over 6 million Jews are victims of the National Socialist rule fallen. So one of the things I read about the architect building this particular memorial was that he wanted to avoid right angles, and everything on the other side of this building with the Reich is right angles. And there's very few right angles in this building, and he purposely did it that way. But when you get to the bottom of the stairs in this square, that's where you see the right angles, and it's to remember of what's
what's outside and that you can leave it out there. But it's a good way to remember.
This area, the church and convent of the Carmelite nuns, was located in the grounds of the former game park between 1937 and 1938. Over 150 concentration camp prisoners from the punishment detail were forced to construct the enclosure, which later served as the SS, as a nearby recreational area. Under the beatings meted out by the guards, the prisoners hauled humanist soil and constructed materials to the site. They were forced to fill the gravel pit, fence in the game enclosure, dig a small lake, and build a blockhouse. Jesus. It was a game park. This area was turned into a convent by one of the prisoners in the 60s. This little chapel has one of those little box organs you can see behind the altar. Yeah, they built this perimeter fence in 37, and if a prisoner entered into this zone, he was shot immediately, or fired upon, I should say. Chapel was built by the Russian Federation for the Russian prisoners of war that died in the Dachau concentration camp. This crematorium was built in 1940 because of all the dead that were lying around. They needed some way to get rid of all the bodies. And then it was used for, yeah. The plaque says each of the 4 furnaces could cremate 2 to 3 corpses at once. The ovens were connected to the chimney by an underground canal. And also, this is an execution site. Most hangings were carried out here. The victims were hanged directly in front of the burning ovens. This room right here is the disrobing room, where the victims would leave all their clothes before entering the gas chamber disguised as showers. They would put up to 150 people at a time in the gas chamber and leave them in for a period of 15 to 20 minutes. This chamber is where they brought the dead before they were cremated. Just stack them up. This is where they'd put the clothes of the disrobed prisoners before they were executed. They would disinfect the clothes. They thought they were infected with something. They had a smaller one too. They had the big one in there, and then they had the smaller one out here.
The original one before it couldn't hold them.
Yeah, this is the original one, and then they built the bigger one because too many bodies. So you're probably asking, what did they do with all the ashes? Well, this is what they did with all the ashes. They dug a hole outside and threw them into the ground. That's our time at Dachau. Very, I don't know.
Surreal.
It's just
Sickening.
Yeah, it's worth the visit if you're in Munich for more than a week or a few days. It's a short train ride. You know, the S2 comes out here. It's hard to describe. You just have to see it.
You can choose to do the Path of Remembrance or not. I wasn't overly impressed with the Path of Remembrance. I think if I were to do it again, knowing what I know now, I think I would have just taken the bus out here and spent more time here. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, we spent about 4 hours out here. There was a lot of kids groups earlier in the morning. It's thinned out quite a bit in the afternoon, so if you want to come out here at 1 until 5, I think they close at 5, you can do that, and it's probably better. But
You'll have less groups of just bunches of people around.
less people. But that's it for this episode. We'll see you next week on another episode of the Global Geezers.
Bye.